because I know you guys are all huge Bad Empanada fans here. I just wanted to give you guys an update on my next video and explain why it's taking so fucking long. So I said like six or so months ago that I wanted to make a video about the Iraq War, and specifically about how there's this recent trend of people who deny that it was about oil, and not entirely that. It's mostly the reason why they deny it's about oil. It's sort of like a proxy for them denying that it was about any sort of economic motivation at all. There's generally two sorts of way in which they do this. One of them is the liberals who are like the Iraq War was bad, but it wasn't about oil. It was rather just because the Republicans who were in power at the time were crazy or bad or whatever. And then there's the ones who, it's rarer, but these people do exist. They claim the war was like an idea that had a good motivation, you know, to get rid of the evil bad man Saddam Hussein, but that was executed poorly. And that's people who are against the war can only be against it with the benefit of hindsight, because otherwise it was basically great. And I wanted to like basically look at the run up to the Iraq War, and then, you know, the war, what the USA did and stuff like that, to sort of respond to those sort of ideas. And as I kept like researching, I realized I got to go back and back to like before the Iran-Iraq War to really get into like just the pure rank levels of opportunism that the USA displayed in its relationship with Saddam Hussein's Iraq, to, you know, really get into the nitty-gritty of like, how in the fuck could you possibly claim that this was for anything other than purely self-interested motivations by the US empire, which were consistent over multiple decades and over multiple different presidential administrations through both parties, both through Bill Clinton, Reagan, George Bush 1, and George Bush 2. And I think it's specifically the Bill Clinton, like the Bill Clinton era was an amazing example of the way that the USA constantly, as like a systemic practice, weaponizes the welfare of the very people that it lies to be acting in the interest of, to try and get at uncooperative regimes around the world. That's what they did to Iraq under Saddam, and it's probably the best example of that there is. What I mean by that is like, you know, sanctions, the destruction of infrastructure stuff. Well, the destruction of infrastructure was Bush, but like, you know, if you wanted to free the Iraqi people from Saddam Hussein, like you genuinely wanted to do that, I would think you wouldn't destroy all their power plants and their water treatment plants and stuff like that. You know, if you wanted to better their conditions, you actually cared about them, I would think that you wouldn't impose crippling sanctions on their already destroyed economy to ensure that their living standard goes down into the gutter. And obviously, if you do that to a country, the reason why you're doing it is probably because you don't give a shit about the people and you just want to get at the government, and you're weaponizing their welfare against the government, because the entire point of doing stuff like that is to lower their standard of living in the hopes that they become so desperate that their only option is to, like, you know, go and try to fight the government's troops with their fists. Have you seen GDF's video about the Iraq War? Nope. I don't watch YouTube videos. I mean, the thing with the sanctions death is it doesn't matter how many people were killed. It really doesn't matter. What matters is the intent behind them. Because obviously, sanctions, even if they don't actually directly kill people themselves, how do they function? Just ask anyone who's pro-sanctions, how do they function? When you sanction, like, for example, the oil, the ability to export oil of Iraq, which was something like 60% of its GDP, what effect is that going to have on the people? What's the point of that? It's obviously to hurt the people of the country. He claims the war was because of Israel. No, the second Iraq war wasn't because of Israel. The first one wasn't really because of Israel, but Israel benefited from it massively because it destroyed their number one competitor in the region militarily and diplomatically, which was Iraq. But anyway, that's the video that I'm working on. I don't want to give it all up before you watch it. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? Though usually, you know, people don't check sources. People don't really care about any of the actual research that I do. They just like the aesthetic of it. So I don't know. Maybe I should just make a video where I just tell you guys what to think and don't bother actually justifying it at all. I mean, Israel didn't need Iraq to be destroyed, because the first Iraq war already destroyed it militarily and economically and turned it into just so far from being able to be a power in the region anyway. So why would You know, Israel didn't even participate in the Second Iraq War. They could have, but they chose not to. It's basically, why would they have to? Obviously, there was an auxiliary benefit of serving Israeli interests in the First Iraq War, but that wasn't the main reason either. If anything, it was more, it had more to do with Saudi Arabia than it did with Israel. Basically, the US loved Saddam when he was killing Iranians, and then once he was no longer killing Iranians, they just dumped him because he was not useful to them anymore, and he was like a threat to Saudi Arabia, to Saudi Arabian prominence in the region, as well as Israeli prominence in the region. But anyway, and then after I do the Iraq video, this is far in the future. I'm hoping to get the Iraq video out next month. But after I do that, I'm thinking of doing a video which is going to be about a topic about Argentina in Spanish. And it's going to be in Spanish on my main channel with subtitles in English, I guess, because it has to be in Spanish because otherwise it won't reach the people who actually care about it. Because the new government in Argentina is basically like full-on denialist of the crimes of the 76 to 83 military dictatorship in Argentina, and I wanted to make a video about that. So I'll probably do that just because it would be fairly easy for me to do because I already have all of this. I already know everything about it, and it's really annoying for me because whenever this topic comes up, you get the denialists who are just like, there's no evidence. There's no evidence that the death toll is this high and stuff like that. And every time I watch them, the people who are like arguing with them don't know how to respond because no one actually looks at this from like a historiographical point of view because for some reason it's just ignored. And it's just like, no, just cite these sources at them. Cite these 10 different fucking sources at them. Do that. And no one does it. So I want to make a video just to try and diffuse the fact that there does exist like literally 10 different primary documents where the military dictatorships themselves talked about how many people they had killed. Because it's fucking insane how denialists just like insist over and over again that there's no evidence when there's a fucking mountain of evidence and everyone just ignores it for some reason. So I want to make a video about that. I don't know if I will, but eventually I will. Aside from that, I don't know. Those are like the two things that I got in the pipeline right now. The Iraq one is definitely the next video after that. It's all up in the air. I change my mind on what I want to make all the time, so who knows. Apart from that, I don't know, maybe I'll start streaming more again, though it's difficult to stream constantly because I never wanted to be like a breaking news channel or anything. I don't know, I feel like streamers who do this sort of thing where they like cover daily news and stuff, they're really just fucking reaching for content a lot of the time. Like it's just nothing, and it's better to go for quality over quantity, in my opinion, even if it's not as lucrative. I certainly feel better about it, but sometimes, you know, you can't really resist just taking the easy money and doing a quick stream when you got some ideas in it about what to talk about like I do here. Anyway, so yeah, that was just a quick update because I feel like I should give you guys an update because I haven't released a video in like a month and a half or two, and haven't really uploaded anything at all since the stream, the charity stream, which by the way raised $70,000 for the UNRWA, which is great, obviously. So yeah,